Captain Maya Patel leaned back in her command chair aboard the Earth Defense Station Harmony, watching the incoming transmission with barely concealed amusement. The massive alien dreadnought that had materialized at the edge of the solar system was truly impressive. 3 kilometers of bristling weapons and armor that would have been terrifying to any civilization that still thought in terms of conventional warfare. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Kim from the communications console, trying to suppress a grin, "the Krillian Empire is demanding our immediate surrender. They're giving us exactly 1 hour to comply or face total annihilation." "How quaint," Maya murmured, running her fingers through her silver hair. At 230 years old, she was among the youngest senior officers in the Earth Fleet, but even she remembered the old stories her great-great-grandmother used to tell about the warlike days of humanity's past. "Shall I patch them through to the Council?" Kim asked. "No need," Maya replied. "I think I can handle this myself. Open a channel." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a reptilian creature with scales the color of dried blood and eyes like molten gold. General Smirks of the Krillian Empire had conquered 47 star systems in the past century and had never encountered meaningful resistance. "Humans," Smirks hissed, his forked tongue flicking out as he spoke, "your pathetic species has grown fat and complacent during your so-called golden age of peace. We have studied your history. You have not fought a single war in 3 millennia. Your military exists only in museums. Surrender now, and we may allow some of you to serve as slaves." Maya smiled a warm, genuine expression that seemed completely inappropriate given the circumstances. "General Smirks, I presume? Welcome to the Sol System. I'm Captain Patel of Earth Defense. I have to say, your timing is impeccable." "My timing?" Smirks' head tilted in confusion. "Oh yes," Maya nodded enthusiastically. "You see, it's been exactly 3,000 years, 2 months, 16 days, and she glanced at her chronometer, 14 hours since the last time anyone was foolish enough to threaten Earth. We were just discussing what to do for the anniversary celebration." Behind her, Maya's bridge crew was struggling to maintain their composure. Young Ensign Rodriguez had to bite his lip to keep from laughing outright. Smirks' eyes narrowed. "You mock me, human? Even now, my fleet of 500 warships approaches your world. Your primitive sensors must have detected them by now." "Oh, we detected them the moment they entered the Orc cloud," Maya confirmed. "Lovely ships, by the way. Very traditional. I particularly admire the plasma cannons. We used similar designs about 2,000 years ago, before we moved on to more efficient solutions." "More efficient solutions?" Smirks repeated, his voice carrying a note of uncertainty for the first time. Maya gestured to Lieutenant Kim, who began typing rapidly at her console. "You see, General, you're operating under a fundamental misunderstanding. You assume that because we haven't fought any wars in 3,000 years, we've forgotten how to fight. But that's not quite accurate." The view screen split, showing tactical displays of Smirks' fleet. 500 massive warships hung in space like metallic beasts, their weapons charging for the assault on Earth. "The truth is," Maya continued conversationally, "we stopped fighting wars 3,000 years ago because we learned something wonderful. War is just a very inefficient form of problem solving. Once you solve the underlying problem, the need for war simply disappears." "What problem?" Smirks demanded. "Death," Maya said simply. "Scarcity. The fundamental fears that drive biological beings to violence. You see, General, when humans achieved true immortality and learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level, warfare became rather pointless. Why fight over resources when you can create them? Why fear death when it's merely a temporary inconvenience?" As she spoke, something impossible began happening to Smirks' fleet. The massive warships weren't being destroyed, they were simply changing. Metal holes flowed like liquid, reshaping themselves into intricate geometric patterns. Weapons systems transformed into gardens that bloomed with impossible flowers made of crystallized starlight. What? What are you doing to my ships? Smirks stammered. We're not doing anything to them, Maya explained patiently. We're helping them become what they truly want to be. You see, even your ships have a form of consciousness. Every atom, every molecule yearns for a more beautiful arrangement. We're simply asking nicely if they'd prefer to be instruments of destruction or works of art. On the view screen, Smirks watched in horror as his flagship's bridge began sprouting luminescent trees, whose leaves chimed like bells in the solar wind. His weapons console had become a fountain of liquid light. This is impossible, he roared. Matter doesn't work that way. Not the way you understand it. No, Maya agreed. But after 3,000 years of peace, humans had quite a lot of time to study the deeper mysteries of existence. We learned that consciousness and matter are more interconnected than anyone imagined. Reality is far more flexible than most species realize. Lieutenant Kim cleared her throat. Captain, I'm receiving surrender requests from approximately 498 Krillian vessels. Their crews are apparently quite impressed with their ship's new configurations and are asking if they can stay to learn more about quantum aesthetic transformation. What about the other two ships? Maya asked. Those crews are requesting political asylum. Apparently, they've wanted to become artists for years, but were afraid to tell their families. Maya turned back to Smirks, whose magnificent warship was now a breathtaking sculpture, flowing energy, and crystallized music. You see, General, this is why we don't fight wars anymore. Violence is just fear expressing itself through limited imagination. Once you expand your perspective on what's possible, conflict becomes rather obsolete. Smirks stared at his transformed bridge, where his tactical officers were now painting murals on surfaces that had moments before been weapons controls. But how do you maintain order? How do you prevent chaos? By making chaos more beautiful than order, Maya replied with a gentle smile. By ensuring that every being in the universe has access to infinite creative potential. When everyone can literally reshape reality with their imagination, why would anyone want to destroy instead of create? She stood up from her command chair, brushing an imaginary speck of dust from her uniform. Now then, General, or would you prefer artist Smirks? Shall we discuss what your people would like to become? I understand some of them have been secretly composing poetry. Perhaps we could help them write verses that literally restructure space-time for aesthetic effect. As Smirks's transformed flagship drifted peacefully toward Earth, its hull now singing ancient harmonies that had been locked in its atomic structure for millions of years, Maya couldn't help but smile. Another successful first contact. The 3,000-year peace would continue not because humanity had forgotten how to fight, but because they had learned something infinitely more powerful than warfare. They had learned how to transform enemies into friends simply by showing them that reality itself was a canvas waiting for a more beautiful design.